We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Spike Lee and Denzel Washington made a civil rights biopic that's more relevant than ever.
The way the press is treating Malcolm now compared to when he was alive is the difference between night and day.
Only E.T. can take you inside the making of Malcolm X.
I think it's time to stand up.
Break it up. You got what you wanted.
No, I'm not satisfied.
I was nervous, but I knew what was at stake. And Denzel and I both knew that we were the right people for the job and we could do it. But we were under tremendous pressure not to drop the ball on this one.
Take a real good look at where you live. Not just where you live, but take a good look at where everybody you know lives.
I was fascinated. I mean, it was really about 12 years ago when I did a play about him. I read the autobiography, and once I did that, I just couldn't get enough information. Any and everything that I could do, talk to his family, his friends, his brothers and sisters, is just try to live that life. And there were 4 or 5 different lives to live. The Lindy hopping, zoot suit wearing guy, the criminal, the convict, the young member of the Nation of Islam, the Orthodox Muslim, the marked man.
Denzel felt we had to try to give an essence of the man. He could not be Malcolm X, but he could give an essence of the man. And in order to do that, he had to be in a place spiritually pure to allow Malcolm's spirit to come through.
We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
There have always been those who believed in accommodation, who believed in compromise. Malcolm, on the other hand, represented a very distinct strand of thought and black opinion that said compromise with America is impossible. And there were a lot of people who never believed that black people would be accepted in American society.
What's your name?
Malcolm Little.
No. That's the name of the slave masters who own your family. You don't even know who you are. You're nothing. Less than nothing. Who are you?
When you say, well, my name is Denzel Washington, one said, no, that's not your name. That's the name that your slave master gave you. That's his name. Who are you? Who are you? And I love that scene in the film because we don't know, you know, and most people just take these things for granted. He made you think about these things and how you got here and what your history was. And that's the one thing that I've learned from him more than anything else probably is to study history.
Oh, I say it again, you've been had. You've been took.
First, that was one of the more intimidating things the first time I had to get up in front of an audience and speak. I mean, that's not something I do myself, especially with one scene we had like about 2,000 people there. And they're kind of looking at me like, okay, you know, show me. So that was tough.
Not all of them, but we got his best speeches. We pulled them out and we put them in the script. And when we were doing these speech scenes, he would come to the end of the text and I wouldn't say, cut out, keep on going, and Denzel would continue for another 5-10 minutes. This Malcolm verbiage coming out of his mouth. And I was finally say cut, and Denzel would be spent. We had this blank stare in his face, and he said, Spike, you know, we said, couldn't remember what he said. That's the type of spiritual, you know, thing that Denzel's working on this film.
Yes, sir, Chaplain Gill, but since neither one of us are God, I don't think either one of us are in any position to say who's good and who's evil.
About a man of integrity, a man who educated himself, who wasn't a victim of his circumstances, of his earlier environment and upbringing, and really turned his life around and just really soared and became a man of service to his people and would have been to all people.
I think the most important thing was really show the full development of Malcolm X. I think the reason why Malcolm X, in my opinion, or has been said, why he told his story to Alex Haley, he wanted to use his life as an example to African Americans that you too can do what I did. I was a junkie, I sold drugs, I did all these bad things, but I lifted myself out of the depths through education, and then at the time he said because of religion. And that's why he used his life as an example to show we can do this.
That day is over. From now on, I speak my own words and I think my own thoughts.
One of the things I love about him was the fact that he was willing to change his way of thinking, you know, and to admit, okay, maybe I was wrong about that, and then I'll try this. He was a man who was constantly evolving, getting better, I think, and growing in many ways, and it's something we can all learn from.
We're prepared to work with any groups, leaders, organizations, as long as they're genuinely interested in results.
The way the press is treating Malcolm now compared to when he was alive is the difference between night and day, because he was vilified when he was alive.
I think that Malcolm is still very much underappreciated by Americans, black and white. Part of it is because at that time there was such dazzling examples of leadership all over the place. John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. But I think what Malcolm stood for was a straightforward commitment to an expression of manhood, because he felt that America would only work if it was an America of equals. It could never work if there was somebody on top and somebody on the bottom.
You're sad because that was the outcome, and there could have been so many other greater things, but I get a sense of hope because he was so committed, he had such integrity, and we all have that potential ourselves. So there's a sense of hope when you leave it.
There's this thinking among all Americans, not just white Americans, that because we have Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy, Oprah Winfrey, because you have a couple black folks who made it through, who are very high profile, they're very, very rich, that means everything is okay in this country. If Michael Jordan could be the most successful athlete in the world, then America is still a great, it has to be more than that. What was important is that we did not want to make this strictly a historical piece, a museum piece. African Americans, for the most part, I feel, are still second-class citizens in this country. The reason why Malcolm X is still popular today is because the stuff he talked about still applies today.
It's an American film, I think. Truly an American film. About an African American, but an American film. It's a kind of film that makes you think, that sort of sticks with you, and I think that's a good thing.